Hi, everybody. It's Zane with Sailing Views. I have the coach's coach, Ian Lineberger, here. I've known Ian since I was 15 years old or something. I believe I met him up at Lake Altoona, and really my first real sunfish regatta or laser regatta. I might have even been 14, 13. I don't know. I'd qualified for some U.S. sailing event, and he was there to tell me how bad I was and what I was doing wrong and pretty much everything that was just wrong in my sailing. So without any further ado, here's Coach Ian Lineberger. How you doing,
Hey,
Ian?
how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Pretty good, man. Just trying to get through this.
Yeah, I hear you. I think we're all trying to find new ways to keep ourselves busy during all this.
Well, it's been good for my skin.
A little less sun, huh?
A lot less.
Yeah, yeah. But you're not all lotioned up with the sunscreen, so you might not. You might be getting a little harder. But anyway, all right. So let's dive into some questions here. How did you get started sailing? What age, and how did it all evolve for you?
Well, sailing wise. I mean, I grew up on a big boat as a kid in Europe. My dad had an old Dutch sailing barge.
Hmm.
But I didn't really get into dinghy sailing till quite late in life. Rick Erickson bought a laser, a
Yeah.
friend of mine, and I was 30 years old, and I liked it, and I decided that was something I was going to do
At 30, huh?
at
Wow.
30.
Okay.
And I was in a very fast pond.
Hmm.
Ed Baird, uh, you know, um, Alex Asensio's was a little kid then back, running around here in lasers, and
Yeah.
Marty Coleman, all those guys. So I kind of grew up, starting from scratch, not knowing port from starboard.
Yeah. And I remember old Rick. He's a great sailor himself. Yeah, he was there at that same little regatta we did in Lake Altoona. I think I was out there, my boat was sinking the whole time, and y'all were just laughing at me, going, "Dude, what? Why are you here with that?" So,
I do remember that regatta, and it's one of the ones that made me think, I'm just not a lake sailor.
yeah, that was a light air driftathon. All right. So, who influenced you and inspired you? To get better.
Well,
You've named a bunch of names, but
like I said, Rick taught me basically how to sail a laser off his house in Treasure Island in the Intercoastal.
mhm,
We'd race across to some, buddy's dock, and
yeah,
then to somebody else's dock. And Tim Lant was kind of involved in that later on.
yeah,
Um, and then we started practicing down in Bayboro in Harborage and St. Pete down in the basin there, because Ed Baird set up a little laser thing for us because he
okay,
was running that marina. Put us in a ramp, put us in,
yeah,
storage for our boats. And basically I was racing against, Ed Baird and, Howard Miller and,
yeah,
all the Liebel kids.
yeah,
It goes on and on and on.
yeah.
Yeah, but Ed used to make me cry.
uh, all right. So, how long did it take for you to figure out that you were good, or that there was a shot, that you could move forward
Yeah,
with it?
I bought the books. I must have spent 2 years reading Dr. Stuart Walker's Small Boat Tactics,
Hmm.
and years later I'd like go, oh, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And in my pond, I was, generally fifth or sixth, always.
Yeah.
But I went to the laser Southerns in Lake Lanier, and I ended up second. And I was
Hmm.
like, okay,
Huh.
just where I am is fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when I knew I kind of had some, I didn't know anything other than I got fast first.
Yeah.
I got the tactics later,
I got you.
way later.
I got you. All right. So, what's your favorite boat and why? I know you've primarily done a lot of laser sailing, but
Not to say, I
yeah.
would have to say a laser. Um, Starboats, which I've never really sailed, but I got to coach a lot of.
Mhm.
Um, I did some big boat stuff, and I was kind of good at it. I mean, I'm only really good at two things in a big boat, and that's either being in back, calling shots, or steering. You don't simply do not want me in the pointy end.
Yeah.
I am useless.
Well, I think you heard it here, folks. Do not call Ian for bow. All right. So, what's your favorite place to sail? I know you've been everywhere and you've coached everywhere. What's one of your couple of your favorites?
That's a, my favorite place to sail. You know, I went to a lot of different worlds that were in beautiful places. You know, Tenerife, Cancun. There's a regatta that used to have the Caribbean Open Championship down in St. Martin, off the Club Orient, which is a clothing optional resort.
Yeah.
And I really liked sailing there.
Not just for the sailing. Actually, that's on the
Actually,
other
my
side
wife
with
has
the
a
bay,
photo of
right?
me. She would wait until all the sailors went and she'd go topless. But one time she, during training, she took a picture of me going upwind in a laser with nothing but a life jacket and a weight jacket. And that didn't go well because my butt hadn't seen sun since I was 3 years old.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a little sore, a little raw, a little burnt, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Yeah, I don't want to. Let's no more images, man. All right. Well, what I know you've got your hand really on the pulse with with the junior sailing and the coaching and everything you do. Where do you see the future of the sport going?
That's a good question. You know, obviously, a lot of people don't want coaches anymore, and that's what I do.
Yeah.
So, and I don't do opties. They can't pay me enough. So, I'm basically, I work with high school kids. I have my Davis Island Laser team. I have my Plant High School team. And we've been a dominant program in recent years.
Yeah.
And, where it's going, I'm kind of happy with it, to tell the truth. Could there be less coaching in opties? Probably. Could there be less at lasers? I don't know if it's that bad. At the top level, obviously some of the kids, if they want to go to ISAP Youth Worlds, they're going to want to coach because they have to qualify at like the Midwinters East and Midwinters West or Midwinters East and Youth Champs. And these are high-level regattas that require, some, I think, some coaching, but I'm probably biased.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right. What's one of your best trips, your best regattas? Anything jump out in your mind?
I mean, there's not as many of those as I'm sure your next question is going to be what's your worst.
Yeah, yeah,
There'll be a
exactly.
lot of those.
Yeah,
it depends if you're talking, master sailing or open sailing or coaching. There's so many choices for me. Coming second in the Master Worlds in Ireland in 2001 was pretty cool. I didn't have a lot of expectations for that regatta, and I kind of did the whole week sailing what I call out of my mind.
all right.
I didn't think about anything, and I was staying with Chris Rabb,
Yeah,
and Peter Drazen, and Chris would not leave me alone. Like, Ian,
rapid rab, rapid rab, just
what are you gonna do? Let me light another marble.
right in your ear the whole time. I know. Yeah.
And I just tried to stay chill. I didn't want to think during the whole regatta. And I ended up second in that one. Should I have won it? I don't know. Colin Dibb's pretty good.
Yeah.
And that was a big regatta. But I think the one I'm most proud of could be a District 13 championship in Fort Lauderdale. But maybe 45 boats, something like that. But it was the people I beat. And both of these sailors at that time were on full-on Olympic campaigns. That was Mark Middleblatt and Brett Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah, to win that regatta with those guys there,
Yeah, that's no easy feat.
as a master.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I was 45.
Yeah. They're in their mid-20s and going full bore. Yeah.
Super fast. And tell the truth, if they would have gotten to the throwout race, Brett would have won. And the wind started to die Sunday afternoon, and Clyde was going crazy trying to get the last race off. Clyde Wright.
Yeah.
For Lauderdale Yacht Club, because they knew if once Brett got the throw out,
Yeah.
and the clock kept ticking.
Sometimes you pay your money, you take your chances. So
Yeah.
all right, so you nailed it. What's the worst question or worst trip you've been on? Worst regatta. I know there's probably been a couple bad ones, but what just
Does it
jumps
have to
out?
be a regatta?
No, it could be a road trip. It could be a delivery. It could be.
Well,
anything.
I used to also road race motorcycles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I've won national championships racing motorcycles at Daytona.
Yeah.
As an amateur. Tell the truth, when I won that one, I didn't even know. Sent me to the interview at the tower. My wife's like, "Shut up!" I'm like, "I didn't even know I won." My wife's like, "Shut up." You know? But a couple of years later, I did win as an expert, which is really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I got disqualified in the tech garage after the race.
Wrong muffler or something, yeah.
No, my bike wouldn't start, and it was a super sport race. And the battery got fried when I went to the interview tower to do my interview and turned it back on when it was hot.
Yeah.
Fried the battery. You have 1 hour period to, your bike's got to start. They check the charging system to make sure the starter works and all this kind of stuff. And I got disqualified after sliding both ends of that bike around that track, and just really risking my life. And I had a 6-month-old baby.
Yeah.
And it's the only 2 times I've ever cried in my life in sports.
Yeah.
The other time was towing in Mark and Brian after the last fleet race, the Olympics in 2012, knowing that mathematically we could only be 4th.
Yeah.
In the medal race.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than that, oh, talk about Rab. Yeah. One time the Master North Americans, him and I, he's had a streak against me forever.
Oh yeah.
Ever since I beat him in the Olympic trials, which he doesn't like to talk about. And we're going up this last beat. Him, Augie, Diaz, and myself are all tied for the Master North Americans going in the last race. Big right persistent shift. You take a short tack first, then the long tack.
Mm-hmm.
Long tack, then first, then short. Chris and I tack off. And we're taking the short tack first. Augie goes long. And we're coming back, and Augie gets a little teeny lefty, and he crosses. But meanwhile, I'm lead bowing Chris all the way to the finish, pinned him past the lay line. All good. I got 1 tack to make, 10 feet from the finish line after 50 tacks, and I miss the strap and fall out of the boat.
Oh, yeah, that hurts.
Extending the streak.
Oh, wow, that hurts. Oh, yeah, like I say, back in those days when we were all sailing lasers, the whole 90s, 2000 era, I mean, had you ever seen sailing blow up like it kind of did right then? I mean, that would, to me, seem like just an explosion.
Well, the first Olympic trials qualifiers in the United States ever in lasers was in Stewart.
Yeah.
In 95.
Yep.
After the Worlds in Cape Town. There was over 203 boats in the start line.
Yep.
And of course, Kenny Leglar is starting them all at once.
Yeah. So no generals, everybody goes.
Oh yeah, he has Tom Lehan school.
Yeah.
There's only one flag on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
That's X flag.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
And when I think about that and where it is now, where it's so specialized, there's maybe 3 or 4 sailors, maybe even 2 or 3 that are actually competitive on the world circuit.
Yeah.
Versus even back then, we weren't necessarily killing things, but we had people who were doing things like Steve Bordeaux was second in the world.
Yeah.
Mark Mindelblatt was second in the world in Turkey. But did we win them since Peter Comet? No.
No. Yeah. At that regatta, you know how I did in that regatta? That I was 6th overall at that Midwinter's East with the 203 boats. I was like the 2nd American. I think Lovell beat me or Nicky beat me. One of them beat me. Same thing happened, a little later. I was happy just to qualify, much less.
That means you're going to Savannah.
Yeah, I qualified quick on the first run. 2nd American, so I was pumped. Went to the regatta right before the Olympic trials. We had a pre-Olymp in Savannah, and I think Scheidt won. Torben Grail was 2nd, or no, actually Andy Lovell was 2nd. Torben Grail was 3rd. I was 4th. And so I'm coming off 2 regattas in a row where I'm like, I'm peaking. Everything's great. I go to the Olympic trials. I got black flag, Z flag, over, just DSQ. And first 4 races were like alphabet soup. And I'm like, And after that, I just, mentally shut down. The regatta's over. You go in, you use up a week's worth of, throwouts in 2 days. You're like,
that was a grueling regatta.
Yeah.
I was staying with Brett Davis in a trailer somewhere in that long coach boat ride down the river.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then the sun just beating on you in that barge. where they spent millions of dollars and left a legacy of zero.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that still pisses me off to this day.
Hmm.
That Georgia was just like, we can't, they could have gone down to Miami and really built something.
Yeah, they could have gone. I mean, they could have built something out on the Tybee Island. They could have done a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, that little motorboat ferry we took out to the barge was, your head's just spinning and spinning. Oh God, did I forget something? Because then I'm an hour away from anything, and that was just that was everything about that event was stressful.
I had a fairly, I mean, my regatta wasn't good. I was the oldest guy to qualify by far.
Yeah.
And that night after the regatta was over, I went to a party and I forget, with a bunch of sailors, Mark and all these guys, and I had David Vindelblatt.
Yeah.
And he was in medical school then. And he had sailed, and then he said he's going to drive my car all the way back to Tampa and go to school that morning.
Wow.
I slept in the back.
Yeah, that's an amazing trip. The Men in Black guys are both great kids. All right, let me get back on focus here. What's the strangest thing you've seen floating in the water?
Oh, I was coaching off Biscayne Bay in a laser regatta a couple of years ago, and it was an obviously failed raft attempt from Cuba. They had like a farm motor and a bunch of water jugs and foam, and the vessel got there, but the people aboard didn't.
Oh, yeah, that's a brutal one to see.
Yeah, it was right in the middle of the course, and I had to call the PRO and go, "Look, guys, there's something that you don't want to hear what it is."
Yeah. All right, let's move on to. I already know your best role on a big boat. Driver tactics. Do you consider yourself an aggressive sailor or a conservative sailor? And also, what do you teach?
Well, I was always aggressive to begin with, and I taught aggressive. But once I learned that I didn't really need to start at the end, and I always did that in big breeze. I would start in the middle, and I'd just wait to see what kind of side paid, and I would get over there, and I'd leave out and coming back, and just pick them up downwind. Just kind of conservative, like Andy Lovell lift, staying in the middle, being a nice, and there was times when I just didn't want to be that guy. I wanted to be, if the pin's open, I'm going to take the pin, and if you want to take it from me, good luck with that.
Yeah.
But I think as a coach, and I had a hardest time with that with one of my best sailors who just graduated my team last year, Connor Nelson, who won the Midwinters East and Midwinters West last year.
Wow.
The ISAF Worlds and got fourth.
Wow. It's pretty good.
He was always the end. I always knew where to find him with my binoculars. He's at the pin, he's at the boat, But once I got him to start at that midline ball at the Midwinters East and just wait to see the shift and just use his speed to where he didn't have to be first at the top mark, but always be in the hunt.
Yeah, be in that top group.
Yeah, and I think they did that with Paige. I was not really a fan of that because Paige was, she was pin and Paige. That's what she does.
Yeah.
And so they took Paige Rayleigh and beat that into her starting in the middle. I wasn't a fan of that. I really wasn't at that time, but I'm starting to come around.
I have never been a fan of it. All right, so let's move on to the greatest maneuver you've ever pulled off on the water.
Oh. Yeah, I know this one. Okay, so Laser Worlds, Sandringham Yacht Club, 1986. Back then it was one race a day.
Yeah.
30 knots.
Big long race too.
Yep, double triangles, windward, leeward, windward.
God.
With a 1.2 mile beat.
Jesus. Yeah, that's enough to kill a man.
Yeah, they're star-sized courses. So they would have above the weather mark, they'd have a sailboat with a big orange ball on top of the mast.
Yeah.
Because you really weren't going to see that mark.
Right.
And I'm coming downwind. All of a sudden, the wind, for some reason, which it never does there, it kind of shut off. And everybody lined up on the run. Okay, like maybe 80 boat all lined up, going to one single mark. And I jive to get inside. I'm either going to lose 80 or I'm going to get them all.
Yeah, because you're ducking transoms trying to sneak in. Yeah.
Well, I snapped in 3 big roll jives. Nowadays, they don't allow, nowadays they allow that, but not then.
Ah,
And it wasn't on the water judging. You didn't find out till you got in.
right.
I cleared this entire fleet, and I get in, and I was DSQ.
Oh,
Rule 42. And I
oh,
even took it to the room, and they pulled it up on video. Well, here you are, Mr. Lineberger.
yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, because back then you weren't allowed to really roll tack. Roll tacks and jibes weren't a
And
thing.
you weren't allowed to tie them together. And I was rocking the crap out of the boat to just get the overlap the guy's rudder.
Yeah.
It was going to give me 80 boats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good move, but bad move.
Yeah, that's a great thing. All right. So, what are some of the best programs you've been involved with? I know you've done a lot of coaching for individuals, yacht clubs, just whatever.
Well, I started off with an outfit called Team 4. We were the first private laser team in the country.
Mhm.
This is after I, spent 17 years on the World Council and doing president of International Laser Class and all that stuff. I was starting to, wind down a little bit. And I started picking up on the coaching thing. And I had the best sailors in the country, like, Zeke Horowitz, Mitch Hall.
Zeke was one of yours? I didn't know
Zeke
that.
was one of mine. Freddie Strammer.
Okay. Yeah, I remember
all
Chris.
these kids, I had all these kids on one team. So we would just dominate Cressy. We would dominate just about everywhere we went. But we were the first private team in the country. We trained off Clearwater, and we worked really hard.
Wait a minute. Now, how did that group compare to my era, the Team Lyra group?
You guys were actually probably the first private team when I come to think about it, but I'm not sure if that was actually private or not, with Mary Helen running the show.
Yeah. It was a strange program, but
it was, and you guys actually were one of the first to actually employ that concept. And the more I think about it, I actually forgot about that.
How could you forget
blew
about
up her
Mary
brown.
Helen?
I blew up her brown van, by the way.
Oh, don't worry, I've blown up 2 of them, so it's okay.
In her house, the power's off.
Yeah. Well, but think about it. How did the groups go? I mean, I know Mary. To me, I think Mary Helen had kind of started it. There were a couple clubs out of Canada that tried. San Diego tried doing similar things, but not quite the same, intensity and the level that we were doing. How did your group differ?
We were better.
Oh my God. Oh, okay, that hurts, man. That you just stabbed Steve Bordeaux and Nicky Adamson and Andy Lovell. You stabbed Hardesty. You just stabbed a lot of big boys in the heart right there, man.
Nicky got stabbed when they took the water bottles away.
Yeah.
Steve got stabbed when he grew too big. And I love both those guys. Steve Bordeaux and Nicky Adamson and Andy Lovell. It taught me so many things as a sailor. I have the utmost respect for them. I remember at a national championship off Little Lake Harbor, there's all this seaweed in the water.
Yeah.
And I'm leading it, Rod Davies is behind me and all these good guys. And Steve Bordeaux is right behind me. There's all this weed. And Steve would go, Ian, you're getting weed on your rudder. I'm like, he's in second place, I'm in first. I'm like, okay. He goes, I'm going to move out of the way, clear it. So I clear my center board of my rudder, and he moved right back into my rudder tracks.
Yeah.
So he was letting me mow the lawn.
There you go. Yeah, it's good he thought about things like that. All right, so America's Cup. What do you think? You love it? You hate it? What are your thoughts on the new version of the AC?
I hate it.
You hate it? Why is that?
Okay, so after the Worlds in Sandringham Yacht Club in '86, which is like December, I flew over to Fremantle and spent a month, most of January and February at the America's Cup. Mark Brink, myself, and a bunch of guys. We got jobs cleaning boats and things with the San Francisco club or whoever it was. I was hanging out. And, I got to hang out with DC and the boys and got to see some of it. And I watched the finals from the Penn boat.
Wow.
It was a 100-foot yacht.
Huh.
The Penn boat.
It's a hell of a view, though.
Huge green bell.
Yeah.
Okay, so the green bell was a pin, which is, the size of a minivan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the fourth race, Dennis already proved the Big Blue, which he had slowed down the entire qualifying process. He finally just, loosened the reins on this boat and just destroyed those guys the first 3 races. Obvious, he could start 2 minutes later and still beat them.
Yeah.
In the fourth race, I'm watching from the pin, and here he's coming in 30 knots. Doctors in, Gage Roads, Fremantle, and I'm like, he's going to be early. You know, Dennis is never early.
Yeah.
It was the most amazing thing when his bow came down next to that green mark. You couldn't put a piece of paper between that fat 12 meter and that mark. Okay, and it was right on time, full speed at the gun. I saw him look over to the Aussie boat, going, "Yeah,
Yeah. Top that. Yeah. All right. So, what are your future plans in sailing? I mean, everything's a little bit on hold now, but do you have things booked up for 6 months from now?
Well, I got the Davis Island Laser team, and I felt pretty good last year that we pretty much were, I had the best sailor in the country.
Yeah.
That includes the Lauderdale and the Texas teams and all these teams. That felt pretty good for our little program. I had my plant high school team, which went to nationals last year and was, we didn't do well, but we got 10th.
Yeah.
And so, my future going forward is going to be lasers, and the plant high school team. Tell the truth, if I could take a second, if you would indulge me.
Oh, knock yourself out, man. Take all the time you need.
I got a bunch of seniors, who've been with me, for 4, most of them for 4 years.
Yeah.
And they didn't get to do anything this spring semester other than like maybe a fleet race or so. They didn't get to go to team race qualifiers. They didn't get to go to all these regattas they had trained for.
Right.
Including this one girl who had been begging me to start on varsity for like the last 2 years. And I kept telling her, sweetie, you're not going to start until you prove to me in practice. You have to make me, you force me to start you.
Yeah.
Make it where I can't.
I can't question it. Yeah.
Yeah. And she finally did that. And she broke through, and she sailed, she got to sail her first, starting in varsity and did really well. And then, of course, the whole thing fell apart.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking for so many people, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I've got these kids now, all right? So there's a few of them here. Just give me a second here. So Spencer Brooks, Emmy Giacomo, Katie Nelson, Blake Wilson, Kate Prest, who I was just talking about, Thomas Weiss, Hunter Anderson, and Brittany Verstate. These kids are, it's heartbreaking to think that they're not able to finish their high school careers the way they want.
Yeah.
A lot of them are going to USF for their sailing team. Katie Nelson, who's one of my best skippers ever, she's going to FSU. And I got some kids going to Purdue and different places. But
yeah, well, I know that's hard. I know that's, it hurts because I know you've been there, blood, sweat, and tears right next to them, working them through everything and coaching them, and then they don't get to see how they did. They don't get to see the improvements.
College seniors are having the same problem.
Yeah, I was talking to Howard Cromwell 2 or 3 days ago, and he said the exact same thing. Just
right.
All the records, everything's just sort of out the window.
Tell him to start my kid at Charleston and quit screwing around.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm trying to get him to interview with me, which shouldn't be too long from now. But all right. So let's move on to the next question. Where do you see the state of women's sailing?
Oh, I think it's going to be increasing dramatically.
All right. Why? Just more girls sailing now, or?
On my team, I'm starting to see it.
Yeah.
My high school teams, we're getting more and more, girls coming out. We're getting more and more of them that are deciding, I don't want to be a crew, I want to be a skipper.
Yeah.
Of course, on my team, you got to be able to be both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that offshore double-handed thing, the Olympics, I don't know. I didn't agree with them getting rid of the men's keelboat.
Yeah.
I always thought the lasers was the hardest world championship in the world to win.
Yeah.
So I started coaching stars. And then when I found out how incredibly deep that fleet is, well, think about this: 2012 in London, Australia didn't qualify in stars.
Huh. That's pretty.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty difficult. Yeah.
16 countries got to go, and they didn't make it. And if Australia doesn't qualify,
yeah, that's a heck of a fleet. Yeah. You think about it. Every rock star laser sailor, you look at the Star Sailors League, it is a who's who that's come from lasers or, some boats, actually, some other different boats, but they're all just the cream of the crop, the stud of the stud of the stud of the stud. they show up in the Starfleet, you know.
But yeah, and the common denominator there is a majority of them are laser sailors. You know, obviously Robert Scheidt, my good friend.
Yeah.
Well, Ben Ainslie, you know, never sailed stars, but when I watched him. He was on our same course in 2012 in London while I was coaching stars. He was on a fin.
Mm-hmm.
So the stars would sail off in the distance, and you really couldn't see them anymore in your binoculars with the haze. And so we'd watch the fins coming down to the bottom mark. And the interesting thing about Ben, well, first of all, is I met him as a 16-year-old sport in St. Pete. Remember that regatta?
I do. I won the first 3 races. Remember that? I got dead last the rest of them, but I won the first 3.
I started next to him in light air, thinking I saw the UK on the sails. You know, I saw it in GBR. I'm like, all right, I'm starting next to these guys. They all suck in light air.
Yeah.
And I could not shake the sailor.
Oh,
and he was on my hip, so I just go into high mode, and he would stay there, and I go low mode. I'm like, in 8 knots, I'm pretty good. Why am I not shaking the sailor? Well, it was a 16-year-old Ben Ainslie.
Yeah.
And the cool thing was at the Olympics in London, even in 20-some plus knots, every fin gets done. They take their sails down, they put their boards up, tie their center boards in, they get in the coach boat.
Yeah.
And they tow in. Not Ben.
Huh.
Ben grinds in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember meeting him at that regatta, and I just remember thinking, who is this young kid? But his legs were bigger than my waist. You know, he had been taught to hike apparently since he was 2, and you know, like you say, I was really happy because that first Friday, you know, that was leading up in the trials, and there was everybody was there, and like
Peter Tanscheid won it, didn't he?
Yeah, Tanscheid won it.
People don't give him credit for being the inventor of the S curve.
Yeah, wouldn't doubt it.
No, he was.
All I know is those guys at that time in the heavy air, and you remember me in heavy air.
Yeah.
No, you don't, because I wasn't there. You know, I was way back. You know, I could do something in light air, but in the heavy air, I wasn't there. But those guys back then, and I kind of lost my train of thought, but you know, Scheidt, those guys, everybody there was just amazing, just flat out amazing. Anyway, I forgot my train of thought. I'm gonna move on before I take up your interview. All right, so we did women's sailing. Okay, here's a good one for you, and I figured you've got a good view on it. What do you think about growing the sport of sailing? How do we get it to the new people that aren't involved at all? You know, their families didn't bring them up. How do we grow it?
Well, that's the $1,000,000 question that a lot of people have been trying to answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even sure I have the answer. I mean, it is difficult. I got into it just because I liked the laser, and I was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I got beat up so bad. And a lot of people would have said, no, you know, this is not worth it. I fought through that. Starting in a laser at 30-year-old probably wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
But I think they need to have it. The kids need to have more fun.
Mm.
And if they can combine that, obviously the top of the opti team still going to want, you know, their coaching and their top equipment. But as a sport overall, you got to include the F word.
Yeah.
Got to be fun.
Yeah. I hear you. All right. So what kind of advice do you have for, you know, new people, new sailors? Other than keep it fun, what else you got?
Read. Go online and look up what boat you're sailing. I didn't have that kind of, you know, access on, you know, I had to read Ed Baird's book and, you know.
Yeah. You had to read hardcovers. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to read hardcovers. But I would say study your craft, and there's just no substitute for hours in the boat.
Yeah.
I can give you all the tips. I can tell you how to sail the boat, but you're not going to be able to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least you're not going to be able to translate it. But the best sailors are the ones that outwork everybody.
Yeah.
My kid last year, Connor, who just destroyed everything in high school and lasers. I was worried because he was sailing 5 days a week for me. And then I saw at the club that he was going out those other 2 days. So that's 7 days. And I'm like, I was worried about burnout.
Yeah.
So I looked at him, I said, so how's your social life? He goes, it's okay. And I'm like, how's your school? You know, and he goes, I get straight A's. I'm like, go sailing.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could do
But
that,
not every
why
kid
not?
has that.
No. No, not at all.
And you can't teach that.
No. I mean, that's a drive that, Lord knows, I didn't have. All right, so with that,
I had it in spurts.
yeah, yeah, I understand that. With that said, do you have anything else to add? Our interview's
No,
basically
Zane,
over.
other than thanks for kicking my ass in light air all those years, especially up in Fairhope.
Yeah, you're always
Um,
welcome.
Yeah, teaching me how to sail in current. You were actually gave me some. I remember you gave me a really good lesson in current once. And I really can't think of what it was. But I think you were like, if the current's foul, cross the bubble line.
Uh-huh.
And if the current is good, don't cross the bubble line. Does that
I
sound
don't,
like you?
I don't know. I used to have a theory about pushing the current to one side of the board or the other when you got a head-on current, and being able to
Right.
use that to your advantage. I had a lot of weird theories in the lasers. You know, one, I don't know if you've ever heard my one on gravity, heeling the boat over in really light air and gravity, using the rig as a gravity, and as it does it, it turns the boat down, and you fight it back up, and you can do a little scallop thing like this, and it actually drags you forward. Why do you think I did so well in light air? I had
right.
I had weird little theories that I haven't taught any of you guys yet.
It's just a slow rhythm rock.
Yeah, basically, yeah. All right, now with that, I'm going to pull us out of here. So,
All right.
Ian, thank you for being on here. It was great. It was great catching up to you. Like I said, you've always been a mentor to me. You helped me out a lot. And by the way, don't forget, Lyra still rules. Okay. With that, everybody, this is Zane from Sailing Views. I'm checking out of here. I want to thank Ian Lineberger, the coach's coach. Here he is. So I'll try to get his email and put it in the link. If he wants more people to coach, you can reach out to him. Maybe not. He's hard to get. But either way, thank you very much, everybody. Like, subscribe, keep this channel going. Talk to you later.
Cool, Zane.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe.
All right.